Hello, friends. Today is March 7th, and in the historic reflection, we have a very important person to discuss. And this is about the great Alexander Graham Bell, who gave us the telephone. And today, on March 7th, in the year 1876, his great invention was patented. And we have to talk about this great man today in our program. Simply because he changed the way we live, he changed the way we communicate, and therefore this is a great invention. In fact, all the history buff must remember this day, March 7th, 1876, when for the very first time the Graham Bell actually introduced telephone to all of us. And today we treat telephone as something which is taken for granted. Now it has come a long way from the old telephones. Now we use the mobile phone and now the internet telephony. So we don't have to dial anyone. In today's environment, we can just make an internet telephone call. But back in the day, it was a big deal, and this great man gave us the telephone. And to understand more why he started developing the telephone device, I think we need to also understand his personal life. Uh, well, the personal life, because of his personal life and the influences he had, he actually started working on the acoustic devices and ended up making the first practical telephone. And what is a telephone? Telephone basically means that you can actually dial a person and speak to him, and your voice is transmitted to him instantly electronically. So you can have a conversation instead of typing in a typewriter. You can have a serious conversation without the use of keyboard and anything else, and you can actually dial that person wherever that person is. So I think that is why the telephone is an important device, and Alexander Graham Bell gave us this device, and because of this the entire world changed. Now you can have meetings using telephone. Now you can have video calls, a long distance communication. But before the invention of telephone, what were the ways how you could communicate with people? You have to physically catch a train and go there and basically conduct your business meeting, come back. It would have taken a lot of time to do business. But when the telephone came into the world, everything else changed. Now you can have your conversation instantly. And that is why this invention is so brilliant. And Graham Bell actually came up with this kind of device, or this, he actually started thinking in those lines that we should be able to talk. It's basically because of his personal tragedy. So Graham Bell basically is a Scottish inventor. He was born in Edinburgh, in the city Edinburgh, but later his family migrated to US, where they settled. And his father was a teacher. However, his mother was deaf, and also his wife. And because of that, he wanted to basically develop something. And he was an inventor by nature. He wanted to invent things. And from his childhood, he was actually very scientific or inventor bent of mind. So he wanted to invent something which will make deaf people listen to things, and that is how he started off by making the acoustic, lot of R&D in acoustic devices. And in those days, the telegraph had already arrived, and this was all electric cable based communication. But you can communicate instantly, but it's not voice communication, it's dash and dot. So telegraph, the Edison, Thomas Alva Edison company had invested a lot, especially in the US, to build the telegraph network. So Graham Bell had a logical idea that he can actually develop a long distance actual communication device which will carry your voice, and other person can hear using the same telegraphic network. So his personal tragedy prompted him to develop this device, which is an extension to the already existing telegraph system. You can call it acoustic telegraph, because in the telegraph, as you can see in this picture, you could transmit different dash and dots, and other person can note down these dash and dots, and then convert that into language. So it's sort of a passing on message, but somebody has to decode it. But if you can remove this contraption, replace it with the telephone, now you don't have to do dash and dot. You can actually pick up the phone and dial that person and speak to him instantly. So that is what the beauty of Graham Bell's invention is. And he got the patent, and immediately this device became a hit. And as you can see in a very old picture, this is a extremely old picture, and hence the quality of this picture is not great, but you can see that he is inaugurating his first telephone line in the world in the year 1892 from New York to Chicago. So he actually spoke to the other person, and he basically was the pioneer behind development of the telephone, and also he partnered with the Edison Telegraphy Company to roll out his invention. So it was very logical, because for using the telegraph you need a little bit of technical knowledge, and there was a big learning curve. But if you have the telephone, there's no learning curve required. You just pick up the phone and talk to the person. So I think that is the beauty of this telephone, which was sort of invented, patented today on March 7th, and then gradually the entire world basically started using telephone on a long distance communication. So whatever we see today, this is the day when it all started when it comes to communication. Now let's talk about other invention of Graham Bell. So Graham Bell actually invented telephone, but his idea was to basically invent something using which the deaf people can listen. So he did not keep the telephone in his office, because he didn't like that. He said, my work is not over. So he went on inventing other things in life, and believe it or not, he actually invented the first video phone, and he called it photophone. And this is you can transmit talking communication with image in a long distance, but it is sort of a earlier brother of the fiber optics cable. He called it photophone, and he developed it also. And this did not caught on at that time, because I think the technology was almost 100 years ahead of its time. But today we know that fiber optics is enabling the growth of internet and that video telephony. But many of us don't know that Graham Bell actually invented something called photophone, which is the video calling device almost 100 years back. The fiber optics actually was adopted by the world in the 1980s. So almost 100 years before when his invention became popular, he had already invented a device like that. Let's look at other inventions. He's also attributed to inventing the metal detector. Metal detector is a very important device if you are actually in the archaeological business, or mining, or even diffusing the unexploded mines after the war, and whole lot of exploratory work. Today there are all kinds of metal detector which are found. You can actually buy them off the shelf from Amazon. But Graham Bell actually invented the world first metal detector, and that is why he is attributed to this great invention. So you see that he has been behind such great works, and I think we should be giving lot of credit to Alexander Graham Bell for giving so many beautiful inventions to the world. Now he also invented hydrofoil. Hydrofoil is a device which can be put underneath the ships and boat, which actually reduce the drag on the boat, increase the speed almost by double. And these are sort of flying wings, but in the inverted fashion, put under the water. So literally the boat and the ship can be lifted off the water, and the hull of the ship and or the boat loses contact with the water, and thus it will reduce the drag. And using the same engine, now you can actually have a more efficient boat or a ship. And more efficiency basically means that less fuel consumption. So Graham Bell invented the hydrofoils also, and this is also very important because today almost every ship comes with a hydrofoil. It makes them move faster, more efficiently, and carry more load. Let's look at the aviation. So, Graham Bell also invented the aeronautics as we know it today. So, we know that Wright brothers actually invented the aircraft and started the flying, but Wright brothers or their invention was not perfected without the development of aeronautics. You know, how do you basically increase lift? How do you reduce drag? What is the kind of power you need? How do you have to shape the wings, etc.? So the entire science of aeronautics was sort of written by Graham Bell. Actually, he actually set up his own company to make aeroplanes in Canada, and he successfully rolled out the first aeroplanes. However, the aeronautics which we use in every aeroplane today, whether it is fighter or a commercial jet, or even space shuttle, the same aeronautics which was developed by Graham Bell is used today. And also, lastly, he became very interested in the gene and genetic, hereditary, etc., and hence he started the National Geographic. National Geographic is a very popular magazine globally, and it relies on beautiful pictures, the printing of pictures instead of giving a lot of words. So as people say that picture speaks 1,000 words. So using the same method, Graham Bell actually founded the National Geographic, and they published the beautiful pictures. And today National Geographic has become a very popular channel, and giving life to study about nature, etc. So Graham has given so many things to us. He was a great man, great inventor, and therefore we must remember him today, especially when his first invention, which is the telephone, was patented on March 7th in the year 1875. So friends, if you have any comments, any suggestions on the information around historic reflections, feel free to send in your comments. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you again in the next one.